A fault is a weakness, a defect, a fracture. Faults divide, tear, and consume. Here in the city of Chester's Chasm, we struggle to maintain that precarious balance over the precipice in the earth, in our lives, and in our hearts. This story is about 4 teenagers with faults of their own.
The fault between my faith and freedom.
The fault between my family and identity.
The fault between my life and death.
The fault between my guilt and revenge.
As these fractures grow, we stand at the edge and ask, what must we sacrifice to sate the void's endless hunger? Is it possible that the answer lies within all our faults? Greetings, and welcome to All Our Faults, a Monster Hearts 2 actual play podcast from the Tabletop Talespinners network. As always, I am your MC, hostess, and producer, Mistress Winter. I've got to say, listeners, I am worried. At the time of this edit, we are a little over a week from the US presidential election, and it creates in me an existential dread like no other. Now, I promise not to get political here or voice any endorsement. I simply need to express that I believe that this election will have a great impact on the world as we know it. And it's hard not to feel helpless in the face of invisible forces influencing and directing our fate. I would say that our teens find themselves in a similar situation, buffeted by powers of which they are barely aware and could not control. Solomon has been swept up into a world wholly unfamiliar, with a new home, a new school, and new friends. Crispin explored a strange new freedom and confidence away from his stifling life at home. Prompted by Solomon's wisdom, Michael accepted an apology from Saline, while the pair worried over concerns regarding Crispin, Solomon, and Barbara's return to school after a mysterious absence. Content warnings for this episode include signs of self-harm. Time codes are in the show notes. Shoutouts and thank yous after the show. Chapter 20. First Rule of Yearbook Club. School is coming down to its final periods, and Crispin, being Solomon's new friend and tour guide of the school, you have the unique position to invite Solomon to Yearbook Club.
I do. I think when I catch Solomon towards the end of the day, it occurs to me that I'm supposed to be going to Yearbook, right? Like, other than living with Dr. Miller, everything about my life is supposed to be just the same. And it occurs to me that we have, for the last couple of days, been kind of going back and forth together. And so he would be expecting me to leave right after school today. And so I'll catch him in the hall and I'll go, "Hey, Solomon, so little bit of a change of plans. I have this thing after school with some people, some of which you actually already know. And like, you're totally free to just kind of head back to the house if you want. But if you wanted another opportunity to kind of integrate yourself into the school and make some friends, you could come hang out at the Yearbook Club with me. We just kind of, talk about inane things and make plans for formatting spreadsheets and pages, and I don't know. I'm more on the kind of information gathering side of it, but if that sounds interesting to you, no pressure though. Like, you can totally, I don't, if it's not up your alley, like, and he's gonna start babbling in a sort of weird, like, no worries, but also like, he kind of wants him to come. Like, Dr. Miller wants us to be friends, and this feels like a friend thing to do.
As soon as you mentioned spreadsheets, he zoned out.
Yes.
And it comes back in towards the end of the sort of like rambling, and it just goes, "Is there gonna be food there?"
Yeah, there's usually snacks and stuff.
You should have led with that. All right, lead the way.
Just offer some cookies and Solomon's there.
Yeah, right. I'm sure our advisor always has like the snack bags of chips and stuff hanging out.
Oh yeah. The box of assorted chips, some leftover cookies from a fundraiser the previous week.
Yeah, for sure.
Pro tip: if Solomon is ever iffy about going somewhere, just be like, "There'll be food," and he'll be like, "Oh, okay."
So what you're saying is you're both an outside dog and highly food motivated.
Yeah.
Awesome. Caesar Milan, where are you?
Yearbook Club is and has been particularly somber with Jacob's death, Bert's disappearance, and the editor-in-chief MIA. Not a lot has gotten done, except for what Crispin has managed to maintain in Barbara's absence.
I have developed photos from the night Jacob died, and there are pictures with Jacob in them.
Oof. Taylor will actually approach you, Michael, as you enter into the science lab that you normally use. They will hold up one of the pictures. Did you take this?
Of course.
And when it seems that they're going to deck you again, the rage on their face just washes away as they look back to the picture.
Do you want a copy?
Yes, please.
Of course.
Thank you.
And Michael will walk past,
Leaving Taylor to shuffle off to the corner again.
Selena's definitely staying on the other side of the room from Taylor at all times. Far, far from Taylor, always.
Taylor will approach you.
Don't do that!
While the club is still mustering, and after the interaction with Michael, Taylor spots you getting set up in the corner, trying to be as invisible as possible, and heads over to you. Hey, Saline.
I will jump and just look up at them and just, hey, Taylor.
I didn't want there to be anything bad between us. Like, Jacob said that your date went really well, and you two had a good time. So, with him at the dance and everything, guess you were the last person to have a good time with him.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, I guess thanks.
Yeah, of course. He was, he will be missed.
Yeah, a lot.
I'm sorry for your loss. I know you two were close.
Yeah, just kind of remind you that you gotta be honest with people and be real with them before something like this happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter anymore, but I'm glad that you were able to show him a good time.
I'm just kind of gonna take in everything that Taylor has just said to me. Getting increasingly kind of panicked because I killed his best friend. It's my fault anyway. Yeah, I'm glad I got that time with him too. Yeah, I'm glad he was able to enjoy it as well and told you about it. How are you doing with all of this?
It's been hard, I guess, but yeah, I'm doing better.
Better is good.
Yeah, I'm okay. Sarah Paisley has been really a huge help.
Has she now? That's wonderful.
Actually, showed you a little respect and kind, I was wondering if, I could ask Ella out.
Pardon?
Since I've been talking with Sarah about like grief and stuff. Ella's been there a couple of times, and I don't know. I just want to ask her out.
Taylor, you just went through a really big change in your life with huge grief that you're dealing with. Are you sure that's the best idea for you right now? Is that truly what you feel like is the best idea?
Well, Sarah says that things like going on dates and love and romance and all that other stuff is life affirming.
But Sarah says that, does she?
I think it would be like that.
I didn't realize you knew Ella.
Well, she's been in Yearbook Club before. She hasn't been coming lately, but
I am very aware that she has not been here. That y'all never really talked before.
well, no. But going on a date is a good way to get to know someone.
If you would like to ask her out, that is your prerogative. And if she says yes, awesome. If she says no, you will respect that and leave her the fuck alone.
Yeah, of course. Cool. Awesome. Thanks.
Of course. I need to roll to keep my cool now.
Yes, please do.
I rolled an 8.
If you lost your cool in this moment, or seriously tried to defend Ella and be overprotective, what damage could that do?
I think if I fully lost my cool, I would end up yelling about leaving Ella alone, and Sarah Paisley doesn't know what's good for anyone, and I might also get physical with Taylor and tell him to leave my little sister the fuck alone. But I'm not fully losing my cool, so that doesn't happen. Instead, it's just all the veiled threats and the clenching of my fists.
Whether or not Taylor clocks your inner struggle and your barely contained sister rage, they don't seem to acknowledge it. And all right, cool. I'll let you know how it goes. Thanks. And we'll turn away very quickly and retreat.
I will just kind of slam the rest of my materials down and just focus on whatever the fuck I was gonna do, and shaking, trying to just chill myself out. God damn Sarah Paisley. Why did we ever hate Barbara when Sarah Paisley has been there the whole time?
That's what I'm fucking saying.
Can we kill her, please?
Yeah, Barbara was annoying, but fuck Sarah Paisley.
Crispin and Solomon, you will arrive to Yearbook Club. And this is something you've been experiencing recently, Crispin, is that whenever you walk into a room, there is this surge of confidence, and everybody's eye turns to you, even if just briefly. It makes you feel tall, and everybody seems ready to hang on your words.
Oh, that's dangerous. Having noticed that, I will sort of sweep into the room with Solomon on my heels, and I'll kind of go, "Hey everyone, good to see you. I know we've got a lot going on this week, but I wanted to take a moment to introduce to you Solomon. He's a new student joining the school this week. And he's going to be hanging out with us today just to kind of get a sense and meet some people. And, if we make a good impression, maybe he'll stick around." Trying to lighten the mood a little bit. And he goes, "Solomon, this is the Yearbook Club." And he'll go around and name everyone. "This is Michael, that's Saline, that's Deacon and Deanna, and blah, 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 on and on and on. Just everything's fine."
Michael, who's half in William's lap, will just turn when you're done and be like, "Oh, hi again. How are you, Solomon?"
No, you're not talking to me. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm fine.
Swell.
How are you doing, I guess?
Peachy. Couldn't be better.
Several of the club members will introduce themselves, come up and shake hands with you, Solomon, and make you feel welcome.
Saline does not. She stays firmly in her corner, still kind of shaking with rage. I mean, it really has nothing to do with Solomon and everything to do with Sarah fucking Paisley. So
Fair enough.
As people just approach me, it's very how it usually goes when he meets new people. Very quickly, it's like, hey, don't fuck with me. I heard there was food here.
They'll point out the small table of snacks and Capri Sun.
Immediately go grab like 3 Capri Suns and then several bags of chips and I just pull a chair next to the table and sit down and start eating.
How does Solomon consume a Capri Sun? I need to know. This is a very important question.
Same question for science.
I don't think, quite honestly, I don't think he's ever seen one before. So it's very just kind of like, I guess and then he takes it and just squeezes it into his mouth. No straw.
Perfect.
He might even, at first, I think he tried to like open it like that, like you do a chip bag. But he couldn't. He's like, oh no, there's a little hole there, and just kind of forced it.
Yeah, Michael's just gonna silently observe from the other side of the room with a smirk.
Crispin will very low-key open the next one for him and put the straw in without making eye contact and just kind of slide it across while he's having a conversation with someone else.
He just looks at it back to you.
I'm just picturing the scene in Beauty and the Beast where they're sitting on opposite ends of the table.
Yes.
And he's like trying to figure out how to use the spoon.
And he's like slurping
until
into
she
the
picks
soup.
up the bowl and like, does that make me Belle?
Yes it does.
Take it and oh, that's how you do it. Okay. He still squeezes it though. Yeah. Very much so. Very quickly too.
Crispin, over the last couple weeks, you've gotten used to moving about the room, being the one in charge, and keeping everybody on task as best as you can. Even in Barbara's recent absence, you've been managing to pick up the slack and manage the yearbook. Even if you get some resistance from Deacon and Diana, who still hold you in great suspicion and otherwise. About 15 minutes into the club, the door opens and this chill washes in, heralding Barbara's entrance as she steps quietly into the lab. She moves slowly as she places her laptop at the head of the long table. She opens it and proceeds to quietly type on it. And that quiet seems to permeate the room as everyone looks at her, but no one seems to want to address her. That silence, that awkwardness is a weight pressing down on everyone.
I think Crispin will let that sit for a minute, and when he's certain that everyone in the room has felt it, he will kind of nod towards her and say, Barbara, it's great to see you. Welcome back. And then he'll turn back to everyone else. You know, Barbara seems intent on what she's doing. She's busy. You all have your assignments. Get to work.
Everybody nods and will return to their tasks at your instruction.
Who's that?
Oh, that's Barbara. She's what are we calling her? The president, the CEO, the administrator, whatever. She's the head of the yearbook. She's usually in charge.
Solomon starts to stand up.
Going somewhere?
And he said, usually in charge.
Not like that, Solomon. Sit down.
Oh, all right. I don't sit down, though.
I would expect nothing less. And then Crispin will go on kind of explaining to Solomon what each little working group is doing. He'll move through the room, kind of answering questions, seeing what people need help with, writing down notes to put on the schedule for later. And unless he is stopped by some major conversation, he will eventually work his way over to Barbara and sit beside her, and in a very unobtrusive overtly friendly way, just go, "It's good to see you back. Everything's been fine in your absence. Do you need anything?"
I am glad to have you taking charge, as is your role.
I think we all have equal parts to play. Don't sell yourself short.
Oh, but you have taken on a new role of late.
He'll consider this for a minute. I suppose I have, but that seems like the natural order of life. We all move through phases, through stages.
We are no longer of that order. We are above it.
You sound like you know more than you're saying.
Don't you know your fellow riders?
And that's the problem, is I don't. But I remember seeing the notes in Dr. Miller's file on her. And so trying to think on my feet, because, Crispin does feel different, but he also feels very left out of the loop. And so he will nod quietly in a, yeah, of course, kind of way. And then he'll level a gaze at Barbara and go, "Why don't we get dinner sometime?"
We will have to meet with our third compatriot. But dinner sounds nice.
Maybe just the two of us first? Can I do something I've never done? And can I roll to turn her on?
Oh, yes, you can. Go for it.
Everyone's face is my favorite. Okay. Oh shit, that's hot, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I believe in you.
Thanks, man. That's a 5. I have a -1.
I don't see how that would be productive. We need the three of us to figure out our plan of action.
Since you seem to have a clear line of action in mind, I'll leave that to you.
Michael has been staring at this. This is so profoundly strange. Between Barbara just kind of passively sitting there in her weird catatonia, and then Crispin so big in those britches. What is happening? Can I stare into the goddamned abyss? And I want to know what the deal is. What the hell?
Sure, yeah.
I was also paying attention to this, but I'll tell you what I'm doing after.
That's a total 3. But it is so strange. Michael is just still like a freeze frame, staring intently at the two of them, just confused.
Sure, yeah. They are whispering between each other, and because Barbara is so blank, you cannot get a read on her body language at all. So whatever they're talking about completely is lost. Solomon is also sort of staring very intently at what's going on with a more primal look in my eye as I'm watching this. It feels very oh, this person, these two carry something about them. He's thinking that in his mind, especially since the whole room just kind of went quiet. So I'm using heightened senses. I am listening very closely to what they are saying, or trying to at least. Okay, go ahead and roll me your dark.
I got a lot of stuff that relies on dark. Oh, that's not bad. That's a 9.
What are you trying to figure out? Are you just trying to listen to the conversation, or is there something else that you have a question about?
Yeah, I'm listening, but I'm also the question I have. I'm going to ask the question about Barbara. What's their secret weakness?
Okay. Barbara's self is very devoid of extremes. Her scent, her voice, posture, everything is tamped down. You just get this feeling of emptiness. It could be that excitement and excess might overwhelm the poor girl.
I'm not sure if I mentioned this before when I described Solomon. But his eyes are very wolf-like. His black sclera and almost like golden colored eyes. I'm staring daggers into both of them as they're talking. It's very obvious, too. He's not making it a secret at all.
Crispin, you might take notice of Solomon's intense staring. There's something that whispers in the back of your mind of challenge.
I could do something stupid, but I'm not going to.
Do it.
I welcome it.
So here's the thing. I have a feature called Broken Seal. I get to take a forward if I willingly follow someone else's behest. Can I argue that in not causing a fist fight with Solomon right now, that I am following Dr. Miller's behest?
Give me a keep your cool.
Okay.
Let's get messy.
I believe in you.
That is a 6, unfortunately.
Regardless of what Dr. Miller has told you and suggested about making Solomon an ally, it behooves you to put even your ally in their place.
Understood. Then I'm going to do 2 things. First, I would like to roll to gaze into the abyss to determine what he is afraid to lose. And when I do that, I get to treat my dark as dark 3.
Okay, go for it. Gaze into the abyss.
That's a 10.
Oh. So, Solomon, what are you afraid to lose? If I remember correctly, when we discussed this previously, you have a necklace, which is an heirloom from your mother.
It's got the full moon on it, which is the night Solomon was born. It was a full moon.
So that necklace is what he's afraid to lose?
Yeah, he's always wearing it. So
Okay. So the second thing I'm going to do is I am going to pull the string I have on Solomon to compel him to lash out physically in front of all of these people. And I'm going to do that by leveling a look at him and just saying, Solomon, it's not polite to stare. I know that you come from a rough background, but when we're in the presence of ladies such as these, we behave as gentlemen. I can't imagine that the lovely woman who gave you that necklace would be terribly impressed with your conduct today.
Who are you having him lash physically out at?
Me.
At you?
I'm gonna have him attack me. Yeah.
Oh, you're okay.
Yes, I'm goading him.
lovely.
I'm sorry. Like I'm not, but I'm sorry.
Throughout the whole sort of thing, as Crispin's talking, it's just this playful smile of like, oh, this is real fun. And then there's this drop as soon as the necklace is mentioned. I stand up and grab the chair that I was sitting on and throw it right at Crispin.
Oh, okay. Please roll me a lash out physically.
This is volatile.
Yes.
An 8.
So you will connect, but you have to choose one. They learn something about your true nature and gain a string on you. I get to decide how the harm turns out, or you become your darkest self.
I'm debating.
If it helps you at all, I was sort of fishing for that first one.
This is it's probably a very raw moment for him. So I think they'll learn something about true nature and gain a string.
Perfect. Wonderful. So what does he learn as this chair is launched across the room? Crispin, you are going to get hit with it. Even if you defend yourself, you're going to take 1 harm. But what in this action is revealed about Solomon?
I think it's probably about his werewolf side. I think his eyes glow slightly at the height of the throw. Just sort of for a quick moment, his eyes start to glow as he's kind of losing control and starting the shift, but quickly recovers from that. So there's just a moment where his eyes, even though they're sort of golden color, start to glow even more golden. Just very briefly, probably for 2 seconds, and then it goes away as the chair flies through the air.
And Crispin?
Crispin will angle himself because he knew, he was goading him into this, as though he were protecting Barbara from the chair. and will take the full brunt of the hit, which, doesn't feel good. I'm still human. And once that happens, I will just sort of look at Solomon and go, I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd be so sensitive. Maybe it's better if you head home. And I'm going to stand and kind of stare you down as I'm sort of rubbing my shoulder. I imagine I sort of tried to body check the chair down out of the way in my farce of protecting Barbara. Maybe this isn't the right club for you, Solomon.
Everyone in the club is staring agape. Barbara has not even flinched, even as the chair was coming toward her.
I'll tell you what, you talk about my mother again, and I'll kill you.
Can I roll to keep my cool?
Sure, yeah.
That's an 8.
There is danger in continuing to goad him. Perhaps a better tactic would be to turn his ire on someone else.
Crispin will smile apologetically and open his hands in a sign of surrender and just say, fair enough, you have my apologies. I still think maybe it's best if you head out. Maybe walk off some of your frustration. We can talk later, man to man.
Michael is suddenly behind Solomon, having watched every single microsecond of this. Solomon, don't leave yet. This isn't an exclusive club. You're welcome here. Eye contact with Crispin.
Crispin's eyes are on fire.
I sit down in the chair. I think you're right.
You can help me take photos.
Sounds fun.
How does that sound, Barbara?
Barbara has been watching this exchange very silently. Very intently, though. More engaged than she has been to this point. It is the first time that any of you get even a good look at her face, more specifically her eyes, which almost seem silvered. Like the iris is dark gray and almost this like quicksilver shimmer to them. We have enough staff, but you may stay, regarding Solomon, if Crispin says it is okay.
Crispin will put a too familiar hand on her shoulder and turn to Solomon and go, of course, I only had your best interests at heart. I wouldn't want you getting upset again.
On Barbara's shoulder?
Hand on Barbara's shoulder, but addressing Solomon.
Barbara will reach up and lay her hand on yours very briefly before she withdraws. And that's when you get a glimpse, because she's been wearing this thick sweater all day. As she pulls away, you can see these bandages that have been fraying underneath the sleeve. One of them has come loose enough that you see scarring around her wrist, but not the typical lines that you'd attribute to self-harm. They make a shape, a dark shape, like the scars are blackened. It's in a shape of a rook.
Noting that, Michael will pause and make a pointed look at Saline, just to make some eye contact.
Oh, Saline's been staring at this whole thing, particularly Crispin, so it will be very easy to catch her eye.
And after letting that linger, Solomon, do you want me to show you how to use the dark room?
I don't see why not. I think this is a little much for some people in here. Don't want to give everybody too much excitement.
I have to make some photocopies. Well, copies of photos. Michael will lead the way with Solomon, if Solomon follows.
As we exit the room, I stop at the door and turn around, look at Crispin and say, see you at home. And turn around and walk away.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and similarly, Michael will look at William and go, I'll be back.
I won't address them as they leave, but as soon as they're gone, I'll kind of look about the room and just say, all right, well, that happened. Get back to work.
I'm going to continue to stare at Crispin with just a look of, what the fuck are you playing at? And I'm going to see if he catches my eye. But I'm going to continue to keep my eyes pointedly on Crispin and Barbara. Not even hiding it anymore.
I will not clock that.
The rest of the club time whittles away in awkward anguish before everyone is released. And I think that is a good place to stop for now. Thank you to the Tabletop Talespinners Network and director Emma Kocar for our home and your amazing support, which includes acquiring our amazing new cover art created by the wildly talented Buttered Apple. You'll find a link to her socials in the show notes. Shout out to our social media queen, Juicy Garland. Thanks to my amazing cast, Abby Marie Carter as Saline, Extell as Solomon, Juicy Garland as Michael, and Kat Kelly as Crispin. I have been your hostess, MC, and producer, Mistress Winter. Until we meet again, may your hearts find something to hope for, and I wish everyone love and a better future. This has been a tale from the Tabletop Talespinners Network.